Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? It looks beautiful weather where you are.
Yeah, it is. I'm literally, the view is fucking crazy.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
it's so insane. I'll have to send you photos. Yeah, I'm currently in Cambodia. I'm doing good. Honestly, it's been intense. So we can get into it in a bit. But before we get into it, let's spin a wheel.
Yes.
Social. How do you support and uplift your friends and social network? What do you think?
Do you know, again, I feel this is an interesting question at this time in my life because I think historically I've been quite good at that in terms of bigging people up. I remember one of my best friends, Danny, he went through this phase of trying to pursue a career in music production, which was so random. It's kind of like the kind of shit that I would do, trying to become a teacher or a pilot or something.
Yeah.
Just completely out of the blue. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm making rap music now. And so I really supported him in that journey. And I used to go around to his place and listen to the music he was making and just give him unconditional support, right? Like, no matter what I thought about the music, I wanted to give him the confidence to keep making it. Obviously, there's a limit with that, in terms of the unconditional support. If I think something's bad, I should tell them so that they can improve, right?
Yeah.
But I think just that confidence booster to keep them going and to keep them believing that they can do it is really important. So I really try to kind of just big people up as much as I can. And in terms of supporting people on a daily basis, I think it's about communication and consistent communication and just being that positive aura around your friends. I think is really important.
Yeah, completely. I feel like my approach is similar, but I think because it was funny because I was looking back on one of our episodes with Mary about when we were describing each other, and I actually wanted to take notes of how my closest friends in the world describe me because I did this exercise with you, with Mary, and then with my childhood best friend Parker, and I just wanted to start keeping track of all of them because it's like, how do the people closest to you see you? And this is like so unrelated, but I just want to share it. It's interesting that some of you guys use very, very, very similar words. And I was like, huh, cool. So like, how did the people around me closest to me see me? Whatever. That's like beside the point. But I think my approach, one of the words you used was harsh. And I think that's kind of more my approach with my friends and how I uplift them is like, I will support you unconditionally. I will be your cheerleader, but I'm going to give you really fucking tough love. And we've seen it on this podcast a million times where I'm like, Josh, why the fuck are you not doing anything? Or like, I'll talk to my friends and be like, what are you doing? Like, you can do so much more. And I feel like I just push them and be like, you can do so much more. Why are you doing this? Like, so my approach is a little bit more harsh, but it's just like honesty because I see so much in them and I want them to do the best possible. So it's like, when I see that they're not putting in the energy, effort, and consistency into what they want, I feel like can be quite harsh actually about it. That's typically my approach.
Which I think is a really good thing. I think there's so many different ways you can support your friends and uplift them, but I think I think the harsh approach, it doesn't necessarily work for everyone, right? And I think we even have mutual friends who the harsh approach is only going to work for, a certain percentage of the time. I can think of a couple of our friends who I've tried a harsh approach with over the years, and it doesn't go down well, and people get upset about it. In fact, my girlfriend, Savita, if I try and be harsh with her, she shuts down and she gets upset about it. And she's such a gentle person that it just doesn't work with her. So you have to take more of a gentle approach.
Yeah.
But for me, who has such little discipline and I need my ass kicked into gear, that's the approach that I need 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good thing. I think it's, as I said, I think it's one of your best traits actually in many ways. I think it's a really good trait that you have as a friend.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But honestly, I think there's ways to approach it. Like, there's a time and a place for it, you know? Like, if your friend needs to get upset and if your friend is like down in the dumps, like, there's obviously a time and a place to be harsh with them, but it's also at the same time like learning when to be gentle and learning when to ask permission. Be like, do you want, like, with you, I feel like I don't need to do that because you're my best friend and like I know that that's our relationship. So I know, you know, if you're coming to me for something, you know that's the response you're gonna get. So I don't really feel like I need to ask permission with you, but in my closest friends, but someone who's like a little bit outside, I'll might be like, do you want my honest opinion? Do you want, like, do you need me to just like support you emotionally and to just like be like, oh there, poor baby, like it's gonna be okay? Or do you want me to like really push you? Um, I think there's a time and place for it. But I will say, as much as I can to dish it out, I am not as good about receiving it. Like, I've definitely had people who have been harsh with me, and I don't shut down, but because I already beat myself up so much, and and this is something we need to talk about today, but because I am already so harsh on myself, when other people are harsh on me too, it just makes it like that much worse. Uh, so like, as much as I can dish it out, I can't take it very well for the most part, unless like I know the person is like my closest friends, and they know, like, I know that they're just coming from like pure positive intentions. Um, like, I can think of an example, like, it must have been years ago. One of our old mutual friends, who we're not really friends with anymore, was giving me a pretty harsh approach about, like, at the time I was not in the best shape, and he was pretty harsh with me, and he was just like, you're never gonna get into shape. And it like really, I did end up getting into shape, okay, but like it really like upset me, and it wasn't motivating for me. Like, I typically do much better with motivation of like, ooh, people lifting me up, as opposed to like being harsh, because I'm already
Yeah.
harsh enough with myself. Like, I'm already mean enough to myself, you know?
Yeah, but I think first of all, I think I can guess who that is. Secondly, I I don't think that's being harsh, and then there's being harsh, and I
Yeah.
think that's the kind of bad kind of harsh. Like that's
Yeah.
not the kind of harsh you are with me, where you put me in your place and you're like, no, this is what you need to be doing, and if you don't do this, you're gonna not achieve your goals, or Josh, what the fuck are you doing? That's just saying you're fat, or like you're always gonna be fat. It's like and I'm just using that as an example. You've never been fat, but um, yeah, that's not a good harsh approach. That's never gonna work, and that's why I can probably guess who it is.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Um, yeah. So that's that. But there's a time and a place for everything. And it is like unconditional support, but just sometimes a little bit more direct with my approach. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So
let's
that's
go ahead.
yeah. No, I was about to segue in because I feel like we've
We're
we've got a
ready.
lot to unpack with you, and
With you too.
um, well, with me too, yeah. But I'd love to get started with what you've been up to and kind of where you are with things, because I mean, the last time we spoke, it was a pretty big milestone for you, or just approaching a very big milestone. So how have you been over the last week or so?
Oh boy, I think it's been, at this point for us, it's almost been 2 weeks, because we talked on it's almost been 2 weeks at this point. No, it has been, I think it's been exactly 2 weeks since we've talked. Honestly, the last 2 weeks have been really, 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 really intense emotionally. And I'm sure you've assumed that, because I texted you and was like, we need to record. I will make it happen no matter what, which ended up falling through anyway. But it's been really, really intense emotionally. I think the last time we talked, it was the beginning of the anniversary of the breakup. The breakup took 10 days. And so those 10 days, 2 weeks, it was emotionally really, really challenging. It was like a lot of extreme highs, a lot of extreme lows. I think, just to kind of get into what happened that day that we talked, Monsieur Soissons and my childhood best friend and I like all met up in North Vietnam. And I will say, like, the emotional ups and downs of Monsieur Soissons for those next 3 days were really intense. And I think for me, I didn't meet him with empathy or understanding with number one, the fact that he was super jet lagged, and number two, the fact that he, up until literally this trip, he's been smoking weed all day, every day for at least the last year. So this is his first time like not under the influence at all. And so also like this is our first time interacting where neither of us are under the influence. So it's like we're kind of dealing with new people at this point.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't meet him with, and those first 3 days, I'm like, who is this person? Like, he's completely different than who I'm used to. And I didn't meet him with any empathy or understanding, which I think was my bad. But we had a chat about it. And I'm like realizing that we're super, super, super similar in a lot of ways where we both psychoanalyze everything and we're both like hyper aware of the other person's emotions and feelings. And that can impact our emotions and feelings. And it can kind of become a spiral and a cycle. But just to give you a general overview, and I can send you a voice message with like specifics, but just a general overview is like those first 3 days were pretty rough. We had a conversation. I felt way better, but I told him, I was like, you're a completely different person. Like it's, I'm nervous about whatever. And like, I think that put him in kind of a rut. And then the next couple days were really, really good. And we talked about this on voice message that I think also over the span of those 10 days, my emotions were so heightened and so ultra sensitive because of the time of year, because I think I was like sitting in a lot of grief and really thinking about, oh my God, it's been a year since the breakup. And my heart was pretty heavy. And every little thing, like almost my interactions with Mr. Soissons put a spotlight, like a ginormous spotlight on all of these places where I need to heal, which in that way, I'm really, really grateful. But I think I went into my time with him with maybe a different set of hopes and expectations about how things were going to go. Like in my head, things were going to be like how they were over the summer, where we're super, super chill and type B Sasha's here and we're under the influence all the time. And when we're together, at least, like I wasn't under the influence all the time, like all day, every day, like he was. But, like when we're together, we're under the influence and like we're just chilling. And like there's a lot of, like stuff like it's just like it was us, and I think I kind of went into this section of the trip with that kind of like hope and understanding like things would just be like that, and they weren't. And it's been like a lot of emotional ups and downs and highs and lows, and I feel like my experience with him has been like a mirror, and I feel like there's been a spotlight shown on all of these places where I still haven't healed and I still need to work on. Like I can give you a fucking list, basically. Like, there were a lot of challenges where I was, like, triggered by something. Like, I was triggered by a couple of things and you having to go deep, deep, deep into my psyche about a lot of shit. Like, just for example, like, this fear and feeling of rejection and where that comes from. And it's like at first, like it was feeling that way with him. And then it was like an onion where I was feeling that way with like my ex. And then a deeper layer of like, okay, maybe this comes from childhood. And in reality, this is just a bullshit story that was transferred to me through childhood. But in reality, when I look at the truth of the matter, like that's not true at all. You know what I mean? Like me feeling like, oh, all of my relationships, like I care more than the other person. I'm putting more effort than the other person. If that's like friendships, family relationships, romantic, it's like if that's a bullshit story in my head from childhood, that has just been whatever. It's like whatever reality I'm looking for is the evidence I'll find, because in the reality of it all is like I have so many really, really, really fulfilling, mutual, uplifting relationships. Like it's not the case whatsoever that my relationships are one-sided and that I care more and I love more. It's complete bullshit. And it was like uncovering that. And then it was basically like I was going deep, deep, deep into the psyche and processing through so much and just like so much grief about everything. And one thing I like found that is my natural tendencies to go internal, is to think about it, to journal, to like really think through it. And then also my natural tendencies to go and talk to friends and loved ones about it. Like I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to send you a voice message. I'm going to talk to friends, talk to whatever. And at the end, like he brought it up to me. He's like, you're having issues with me. And instead of talking to me about it, you're going and dealing with it mentally by yourself. And sometimes like we're misinterpreting each other and, you're kind of spiraling in a way that's like you're taking one thing I'm saying and you're spiraling in a different way and you're trying to figure it out mentally, or you're going and talking to a friend instead of coming and talking to me about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like such an unhealthy way to have like well, not that this guy's going to be like a long-term partner for me, which I've also come to that realization. But it's like, wow, what an unhealthy way to deal with it. Like if I'm having challenges with a partner, I should be going and talking to that partner about it. You know what I mean? Like automatically. And since we've had that conversation, every time I've had something come up, I've like talked to him about it immediately and it's been addressed and just like done. So one lesson there, like the whole mutual relationship thing's a lesson there, the fear of rejection thing there. I'm reading a book right now where it's like, don't take shit personally. And I've been taking so much shit. I've been taking fucking everything personally about everything all the time, like with work stuff, with relationship, with friend stuff, like whatever. Like, girl, why you doing that? There's just been so much, just also like heavy, heavy, heavy grief about the relationship ending and, you know, like missing aspects of my ex and like missing parts of him and still loving parts of him and being okay with that and just like really sitting in it. It's just been so, so much. And then it's just been like with him, it's been highs and lows. And we've been good for we had a conversation we had like a really, on the actual anniversary of the breakup. So today's Friday. On Monday, we spent the days apart. And I like really went deep, really sat with my grief. And we had a really good talk after that. And since then, things have been really, really good. So it's been about a week that things have been really good. But before that, it was a lot of emotional highs and lows, and also coming to the terms and realizing that I'm so focused on how he feels about me that I'm not focused on how I feel about him as much. And I know that I did that with my ex. Like, I know that's something else I need to work on. Like, I feel like this situation is literally bringing all of this shit that I haven't dealt with up to the surface. Sorry, I'm like literally monologuing, but
No, but this is like so much. It
it's
is
so
so
much.
much that you've like huge realizations that you've come to over the last couple of weeks. It's yeah, a
It's
lot to
intense.
unpack.
It's intense. Like 2 weeks, and it's just been like thing after thing after thing, and it's just like really big realizations, really big reflections, so much processing, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, when you texted me the other day and said we have to make this happen on Wednesday, which obviously we did in the end, uh, I was like, okay, so she's really going through it because of the egg situation, you know, it's the anniversary of the breakup, and I didn't realize it was all of this. I mean, I guess it is, you know, partly related, is kind of tied in, but yeah, wow, that's intense.
It's intense. It's just been everything, and I honestly, I'm almost grateful. Like, this time is not what I expected it to be. Because, you know, I obviously had these hopes and expectations that it was going to be a certain way and that he and I were going to be a certain way. And one lesson I've learned this year is that you get the thing that you need and not the thing that you want, right? So like I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to have a big ass fucking spotlight shown on me, to be like a mirror and a spotlight being like, bitch, there are still these things that you need to deal with. And it feels like, okay, this year has been like a fireworks show of like lesson after lesson, and it feels like this is the grand finale where it's like boom 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 boom, boom, like just a million times in a row. And so yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to kind of
That's
go
so,
through.
yeah, that's such a funny way of putting it. You know, when you watch a TV show and like it's building up to this big finale at the end, and you have the second last episode and it's all setting up, and then the episode at the end of the series is just like thing after thing after thing. It's just intense
Yeah.
shit. And it's exactly what you're going through. It's so funny to look at life like a movie or like a TV show because there's so many analogies you can draw from it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's been a lot, and I really it's been a lot. It's been very, very deep. It's been really intense. Um
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been intense, and I'm grateful that it's been so intense. And I'm really happy to have like kind of time and space to like really dig deep into it and like really just finish the healing job. You know what I mean? Like really just get into it, especially before I take this next step. Especially I think Date with Destiny like is gonna be like, my mom said it to me, like she's like, this feels like closing out the year, this piece, because I leave for the US in 1 week from today. So this is like the end of this like international journey. And she's like, this feels like closing out. She's like, Date with Destiny feels like it's going to be the beginning of something new. Which is true, I guess, but it's like, it's really Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful, but at the same time, it's really intense. And I really want to like continue to process through it and let go of all of these things and like, like these emotional patterns I've been going through and these like limiting beliefs that I've been going through. I really just want to like fucking leave them. I want to leave them here. I want to leave them in Asia. I want to move forward in a new headspace, but like to go through and to process through them is a lot.
Yeah, and I think the culmination of this intensity, and we already always said this throughout the year, that Date with Destiny is kind of a perfect way to finish your year, right? I mean, it's just like amazing timing and kind of divine timing in a way. But especially now you're feeling these intense emotions and feelings and so many different thoughts going on in your head, and so many realizations as well as to why you may be feeling the way you are. I think it's one thing leaving behind those feelings and emotions in Southeast Asia. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of this is going to come up at Date with Destiny, right?
Yeah.
And Date with Destiny is all about kind of killing who you used to be and your previous thoughts and values and patterns and completely reinventing yourself. And so I think there's going to be a large element of focus on this at Date with Destiny, at
Yeah.
least in the first couple of days. And you're going to be reborn as this new person with a new direction afterwards. Again, I think you said about an episode we recorded a couple of weeks ago about how we talk about Tony Robbins and how it sounds so culty, and that does sound really culty.
Yeah.
But like we know, and I think anyone who's been to these events does know that that's how it can be. And Date with Destiny, I'm so glad you're doing it. At this point in your life and at this point in the year, I think it's going to be such a blessing. Everything you just said is so fascinating. I think the most interesting part, I'm such a firm believer, whether I practice it myself or not, is up for debate. But communication in a relationship, in any relationship, friendship, family, romantic relationship, is so important, right?
Yeah.
It's the key building blocks of any relationship, and without that, it doesn't really thrive. It can't thrive. It can't exist in many ways. We're meant to communicate. That's what human beings. That's how we've developed as a race.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a really interesting point because I think I'm a culprit of this as well. When shit hits the fan or when you're going through something difficult, instead of talking to the person that the difficult thing is happening with, you do. I mean, I've noticed that you come to me and you send a long voice message, or you come on here and talk about it, or you talk to a whole host of people, and I'm exactly the same. I've noticed a pattern for me recently where I'm going through something or I need help with something, and my default, I never want to answer the question myself. My default is to ask my mum, actually, in many ways. Savita picked up on this really recently, is you just ask your mum about everything. And I started to think recently about my mum, about, God forbid, whenever she dies in the future, I lean on her for so much. So what the fuck am I going to do? I need to become my own independent person. But then there is also, as you said, an issue with that in these situations. If you're just going to yourself for advice, and if you're just thinking about it, you get stuck in your head, you get stuck in your thoughts. And the best way to come to a solution with these things is by talking to the other person about it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that he raised that as a point, and I think that's something that's really, really important that you actually start to do. Of course, don't stop talking to me about it because we'll have nothing to talk about.
Right.
But
Well, that's the thing is like if you're having an issue with a person, go to that person about it. But if you're having challenges with your own psyche, first of all, like go internal and deal with it. But also it does help to go to specific friends to be like, these are the kind of patterns. Like if I'm having a problem with him, I should go to him. But if I'm having a problem with my limiting beliefs around something, go internal or talk to a friend that you know or a loved one that you know can like ask you the questions that you need to hear in order to deal with it,
Exactly. So that's a really good distinction. And I think, in terms of identifying childhood conditioning and childhood patterns, again, that's a theme that I've been experiencing actually over the last few days. And I'm curious to hear kind of, I think Date with Destiny is something that will really help with that.
Mhm.
But how do you see that you can overcome that kind of thing?
With well, that's the thing, right? Is like I can go in and I can analyze and I can understand where all of these things come from, right? Um, and I can analyze myself into the fucking ground. And I think that's like there's pros and cons to that. I think because we grew up in an environment where we like with Tony Robbins, we do tend to like analyze where things come from and like really uncover just like the emotional awareness around that. There's pros and cons. Like number one, it's great to know where it comes from, but number two, okay, you've realized where it comes from, and then where do you go from there? Like how do you actually heal the thing? How do you actually move on? And I think it looks different for every limiting belief. Like this thing around rejection and this thing around like not feeling desired or wanted or that people don't have a mutual relationship with me. It's something I've dealt with in therapy. And my therapist, obviously, like it comes from like a lot of shit in childhood. And obviously, like, it comes from like having a parent who didn't necessarily like have the space to have a relationship with me or want to have a relationship with me that was like deep or emotionally like supportive. And my therapist was like, well, you should actively work on building your relationship with that parent. And after you've like done it for a little bit, like communicate with that parent that you're actively trying to work on the relationship. And I have. And I do think like, even though I don't talk to, like I talk to this parent, it's basically my dad, obviously. So I talk to my dad like here and there. We talk mostly about logistics and things like that. But, this year I did tell him, I'm like, listen, I'm trying to work on our relationship. I'm trying to, you know, um, build our relationship, and things have been decent this year. And also my dad is really, really good in a crisis. And I think he knows that I've kind of been going through so much this year that he's been so good about, he hasn't had any blow ups with me about anything, because I think he knows that I'm going through so much. Um, but it was really actually very, very sweet. And I think it really showed me a turning point in our relationship where I called him the other day about like something, and then he didn't pick up, and he normally always picks up just because, he always wants to make sure that if everything is okay logistically and whatever. And he texted me, he's like, hey, like, sorry I missed your call, how you doing? And I was like, I'm actually like really going through a lot of grief right now. I'm like really sitting my grief, and for me to be open and honest and vulnerable, and this was all over text, right? But my dad sent me the nicest messages back, like just so kind. He's like, you've done some incredible stuff this year. You should be really, really proud of yourself. Like you've gone through so much and you're really working through everything, and Date with Destiny is going to be amazing. And, like you should be really happy. And he's like, love you. And I was like, wow, like that itself feels like a really big turning point in our relationship. Like for him to just be so supportive and so kind when I'm like being honest and open and vulnerable about what I'm going through, was really, really nice to see, and just stuff like that. So it's like, okay, if I go into like, for all of these limiting beliefs, if I look at where that comes from, and then maybe I like go to the source, like the same thing we were talking about, like if you're having a problem with somebody, go talk to that person. If you have an issue if something's coming from childhood and you're dealing with that, and obviously it's case by case, right? Like let's say you have a parent who's died and you have an issue with them, or whatever, you can't speak to your parent or something, like obviously it's a little bit more challenging in that way, where you can't go heal the thing, but you can heal your relationship with someone, even if you're not doing it with that someone, even if you have to like go and like in your own mind, like create peace and forgiveness and healing through that. But yeah, I don't know. It's still something I'm figuring out, and I think it's kind of a case by case basis of, what's the limiting belief, like where's it come from? Like something I'm dealing with right now today, actually in general I've been dealing with it, is I always feel like there's never not enough time for things, even though in reality there is, right? But I'm always, if I'm doing something and I'm present in that thing, I'm still worried about getting to the next thing. I'm still worried about like, oh, I got to do this, and to make sure I get everything done in the day. And that it's like honestly a huge, huge thing for me. And I'm like, well, how the fuck do I heal that thing?
Yeah. And what feeling does that give you? Like, what's the kind of feeling internally that gives you?
Stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, like immensely. And I think it's a huge piece of my ongoing chronic stress, is that I'm so worried about not having enough time to do everything and to get everything done, when in reality, like my time management is so good that everything always gets done. Even like everything always gets done. So why am I like worried about, and also these things that I want to do, not all of them are like some of them are really enjoyable things, like hitting the pool. Like, You know what I mean?
Yeah, what a stressful thing. So anxiety inducing.
Right? It's like, okay, if I think about everything, let's say like everything I want to do in a day, and I told Monsieur Soissons this morning. He's like, well, what do you want to do today? I was like, well, there are things. Number one, I got to record with Josh. But other than that, I want to wander around the city. I want to go to the gym. I want to go to the pool, and I want to work. And those 4 things. But it's like, I'm feeling so stressed about not having enough time to do those things. And like 3 out of 4 of those things are like enjoyable things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I get the same feeling, and it's something that I really struggle with. And Savita has spoken to me again. She's brought this up recently, like, Josh, you have to change this. That I have shit that I want to do. You know, I have like a sort of mental to-do list.
Yeah.
And recently I've started making it into a physical one to kind of try and calm my mind. But I have a mental to-do list that of things I want to do in a day. And it stresses me the fuck out that I don't have enough time to get it done. And B, as a result, I'm constantly rushing things. But
Yes.
also,
Yes.
like, I rush things at work. I'm like, I do it as quickly as I can just to get it out the way. And then I move on to the next thing. And then I stress that I haven't done the thing properly, the other thing that I rushed. And then it's just like it's an endless loop, and it's really bad. And I know you're going to hate to hear this, because you're not going to hate to hear this, but it's a piece of advice I give about this kind of thing, I think, a lot. Something that I find every time it helps, every single time, you know, and I find that I fall into this pattern, this negative kind of thought pattern and anxiety whenever I'm not meditating. And what I find helps when I'm feeling that insane stress is I just stop for a second, close my eyes, take some deep breaths for about 5 minutes. Not even that, like, you can stop for 2 minutes and just go, it's okay. You know, I've got this all in hand, and sort of positive affirmations. And I find that just slowing your mind down in that moment, because the reason you're feeling the stress and the anxiety is because your mind is racing
Yeah.
and focusing on a million things at once. Whereas if you can just calm it down and go, okay, nothing matters right now except for this moment and what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
and find gratitude in that moment,
Yeah.
it feels so much better. It really does. I've been practicing as much as I can recently, because it's been a feeling that's really been like negatively affecting me.
Yeah. I think I mean, it all comes back to meditation, doesn't it?
It always does.
It comes back to meditation. And yeah, I think you're right completely. And also, like, the practice of meditation is actually a practice of helping you stop, slow down, be present in the moment. So when you're practicing that, like, it'll probably show up in other areas of life too. So, haha, surprise, surprise, the answer to everything is meditation. uh, obviously. So, yeah, I think you're completely right, and it's something I'm gonna work on. Like, literally after we get off this, I'm gonna go and sit down and, well, I'm gonna record a meditation, but when I record, I actually am meditating, so it's like kind of a 2 for 1, you know?
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say, I mean, I listened to the meditation. I listened to a lot of the ones you post, but the one that you told me to listen to a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, if she's practicing this every day, like these kind of meditations, there's no reason why you should feel this kind of stress, right?
yeah,
I mean, of course, it's still going to seep into your life, and it's impossible to completely cut out that stress and that anxiety, especially when you have so much on your plate. You know, you're a busy person, you have a lot of plates to juggle.
yeah,
Um, but I think it really helps. I think
yeah,
consistent meditation, and also it's not like okay, I meditated this morning, so I won't feel stressed today. It's okay, when I do feel stressed and when I do feel that anxiety, just stop for a second
yeah,
and do a very short meditation, just a breathing exercise for a couple of minutes. It doesn't take any time out of your day. You know, those 2 minutes are not going to negatively impact the rest of your time. Because I think sometimes I have the thought that, right, I have so much shit to do. I don't have the time to stop and meditate right now. I can't do that.
right,
But it's 90 seconds, 2 minutes. That's all you need. Seriously.
yeah, yeah. People spend more time, like, fucking scrolling, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing is, like, when people say, I don't have time for XYZ, I always think it's like, well, that's complete bullshit, because you make the time for things that are important. Like, oh, I don't have the time to work out. It's like, no, you're not making the time to work out. I don't have the time to see you or to whatever. It's like, no, you're just not making the time. And I think it's completely true. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, definitely.
building that back into the daily practice. I do think it's interesting too. Like, when I'm alone and when I'm in my own space, it's much easy. And when I'm in routine, it is much easier to to get to do that. But also this year has been like zero routine, right? So it's been challenging. And I thought I was gonna, have the consistent meditation practice be the practice, but honestly, the consistent thing has been work, which, okay, like, not, maybe it's not the healthiest thing, but at the same time, it has been grounding because it's been the same thing. But yeah, anyway, meditate and reflect and go through it, because literally, I think I mentioned like 5 to 10 like crazy intense like things I'm just trying to process through right now, and I'm still in the process of like, some of them feel kind of resolved, but some of them I feel like I still need to go a little deeper and
Yeah.
sort
No,
through it.
sure. It's a lot, but I think I think journaling as well. I'm not sure if you've journaled
I
about
have
this, but
been.
I think okay, but I think that's really important so that it's there, it's fresh, you've written it down, we're gonna read back on that and remember, okay, this is what I'm going through right now, or this is what I was going through.
Yeah.
But it will help you process it because, it's kind of you can read through it and go one by one, right? This is something I'm dealing with. This is something I've dealt with. This is something I can process now.
Hmm.
So I think journaling and meditating on it is really important, and
Yeah.
also just not allowing yourself to get overwhelmed by it, which is difficult. But I think kind of just taking it one step, one day at a time, and you've got a lot to process through right now, and um, it's intense. It's
Yeah.
intense. So you've got to make sure you look after yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best right now. And yeah, it's a little challenging with Monsieur Soissons and I, like, to kind of balance that. It's a little bit challenging, but I'm managing it the best. And one thing I do want to mention too, really quickly before we move on, is I'm really glad that all of this is happening with him, and I am really glad that, like, I think I'm really glad that he ended up coming to Asia and we're spending like 3 weeks together, because I think if he didn't, I would have, and I like have come to the realization it's like this is not like a long-term partner for me, just for a lot of reasons. But as much as like I love him and as much as we have this crazy insane connection, it's I think it's because we're so similar and not necessarily like what I want in like someone who's polarizing to me. And I'm really glad that he came, and I'm really glad all this happened, because I think if he didn't, I would have continued to romanticize him forever. Um, and I would have continued to like, you know, just dream and miss him so, so, so much. But now that I've like kind of had some time, I'm like, it's okay to like love him for who he is and like for the connection we have, even though it's not what I want long term. And you never know, like things can change in the future and like people can change, but like so much would have to change right now in order for it to work. And if something has to change that much in order for something to work, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? So, I'm really grateful for that too. And I just want to mention that here and tell you about that, because it's like, I'm like also kind of coming to terms with acceptance around that too, and just being like, okay, like it's not what I thought it was, and that's
Yeah.
cool. And just knowing I can appreciate the thing for what it is right now instead of what I was hoping it was going to be, or like the thing I had in my head, but I can appreciate the thing for what it is right now, which is really just like a big ass mirror and a big ass spotlight on the where I need to fucking heal and grow.
Yeah.
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 So
Good. Good. Well, I'm glad you feel that way, and I'm not going to bring up the whole reason, season, lifetime. People coming into our lives for one of those purposes. But I think it sounds like there is a reason right now that this is all happening, and that he's there with you right now, and that you've been going through what you've been going through with him since he's been there. So, um, yeah, I'm glad that you've come to that realization. I think that's
yeah.
really, really important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since I know you've been, one worry you've had all year is like me developing feelings for people and me like diving head first and heart first into things when before I'm ready. And I think it's true. And I have done that. But it's also like towards the end of the year, I'm getting to a point where it's like all of these connections where I did dive heart first into things, like it's getting so much more clear now that like it really wasn't the thing, with Dr. Leprechaun or with this and all of these other like fling things. I kind of haven't developed any sort of like longer term feelings, but I'd say like those were kind of the two. Like Dr. Leprechaun and Mistress Soissons were kind of the two that I had developed like real feelings for. And now being in this moment and being towards the end of the year, I can just be like, no, I can appreciate the thing for what it was. Like I can appreciate the fact that Dr. Leprechaun was a fling, and I can appreciate the fact that Mistress Soissons is like this crazy connection where we had the most amazing summer ever. He was like the most amazing summer ever, and a summer fling that like was great for a summer fling, and potentially like a long-term friend or like a, you know, whatever, but it's not my like life partner, and kind of being okay with that has been really helpful. And it's kind of cool to come full circle on it, because I know that you were worried about that and I was worried about it too, but it'd be like, no, like I feel okay. Like, you know,
Good.
even though there's like disappointment and grief, like there's still grief in the fact that like I wanted it to be different and it's not
Of
what I wanted
course.
it to be. But like
Yeah.
there is acceptance where it's like it's not what I had in my head, and it's not what it was over the summer, you know?
And it happens. And I think it's interesting that you talk about how you've never been with each other completely sober or sober at all. Like one of you has been under the influence of something, right? And people say when you stop drinking, for example, you realize the different connections that you have with certain
Yeah.
people and with certain. It's usually to do with friends, and it's really interesting because people change. People are different under the influence versus sober. And I think it's absolutely no different to smoking and drinking. There's that both they both impact your personality, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's really important that you see people for who they actually are, because in the long term, you would hope they're not going to be smoking or drinking for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And, if you're looking for a life partner, for example, you have to get on with them better sober than you do under the influence,
Yeah,
because you're going to
completely.
spend most of your time sober, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, there's a problem.
Yeah, for real, for real. So, yeah, completely. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see where like I really thought there's a possibility of me like my feelings for him were already very strong, and I thought there's a possibility that I was just gonna fall head over heels completely in love with this guy, and like I haven't. And I feel like my feelings have become weaker for him really since spending time with him. And it's like I love him more for who he is, but I'm not in love with him. Like I love this
Yeah.
man and I love who he is, but I'm not in love with him because I don't want that for me. I just like love that for him, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
that's okay.
exactly. And that's totally okay. And it's like honestly a beautiful thing to be able to like feel that way about someone and about something without making it to be whatever it's not. Which another fucking lesson there. Anyway, we've like gone on and on and on about me, and I'm oh, so much. And we could continue and like dive into each one of these things so deep. And maybe we will over voice message, who knows? But it's time to switch. How was your trip? Tell me all about you. What's going on?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Morocco, was incredible. It was exactly the break that I needed. I felt so good when I was there. It was hot. It was sunny. Just the key components to lifting me up. Most of the time. So it was really good. And Morocco is an amazing place. I really recommend it. Although I can see why people don't recommend it. If you're a solo female traveler, I probably wouldn't do that myself. To be honest, even as a man, I would be little bit concerned. But I went with Savita, and it was lovely. It was a really cool trip. Country number 50 for me, which was a really cool milestone. So it was like a amazing trip, like one of my favorite ever trips. We made it really good because it was kind of a special one. So yeah, trip was great. While I was away, I spent a lot of time to reflect, as I wanted to, to meditate and just to be and to kind of plan for my future. And as we've spoken about before, I think fairly recently, a couple of weeks ago, I recently came to the realization that if I continue with the patterns that I'm following, I'm going to continue being miserable and continue following the patterns I've been following for however many years now. And so I kind of set these intentions while I was there that, it's very doable to wake up at 6:30, 7 in the morning, go to the gym, have an hour to grind on side hustles, then even have some time left over after work, even before I go out or whatever I do in the evenings. I still have time to do that. So I set out this whole plan for when I get back, and I was feeling really good about it, really invigorated. Um, and you can probably guess where this is going because you know me.
It's like, and then
Um,
I came back.
and then I came back, and it was, I mean, to be fair, like I've come back and I spoke to my therapist about this yesterday. I've come back and I've really been beating myself up this week because I haven't done anything that I set out to do. And it even took me a few days to get back into the gym, which has been my rock over the last couple of months. And actually, just for reference, I hit a huge milestone with my personal trainer journey yesterday. Um, my target weight was 79 kg. I don't know what that is in pounds, but
Zero clue, but okay.
yeah. But anyway, I started out at 88. So, about 8 kg off loosely, give or take. And I hit the milestone yesterday. I hit 79.8. So
Hell yeah.
I've gone back up today, but it's always going to hover up and down.
Yeah.
So it's a huge milestone, and I calculated it's about 18 pounds that I've lost in 67 days,
Holy shit.
which is a lot, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
And fast.
it's yeah, and
Yeah.
fast. So I've been really working hard on it. I've been working out 4 times a week, going for 4 runs a week. I've been eating super healthily, calorie deficit. I've really been on it. And it's I'm seeing the results. This happened very quickly, and I wanted to get it done before Christmas, so that's a huge win for me. So I can actually let loose a little bit over Christmas. Um, but yeah, so the gym and my fitness journey has been my real rock over the last couple of months, and even that I struggled to get back into the swing of, and I only did my first workout on Wednesday, so it took me 4 days or so to get back into it. And I was really beating myself up about it, but I've come back to, and it's hardly surprising because I've come back to grey skies, freezing cold. I mean, like this morning I woke up, you can see I'm wearing a coat. It's 2-3 degrees. Again, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's fucking
Cold.
freezing.
It's cold.
I mean, that's 3 degrees off freezing.
Yeah.
So it's cold, and it snowed a couple of days ago. It's really cold. It's wet. It's miserable. And so me trying to wake up at 6:30 in the morning is what my therapist said. Having gone from kind of 0 to 100, coming back from my trip where it was sunny and hot, and I was feeling good because I was getting that vitamin D. Um, I've come back and I'm giving myself these unrealistic expectations to just go straight into it. And as a result of not achieving them, I'm beating myself up about it. So I've been feeling a bit flat over the last few days. I've been having some difficult conversations with Savita. I think there's a lot of tension in the relationship at the moment because she's leaving in January. It's like 99.9% confirmed. And I'm still very much processing through that. It was our 20-month anniversary yesterday. And we went out, I took her to the theater, and we had such a nice evening. And at the end of it, I just felt so sad. I was like, this is such a major part of me is being torn away in January. And I keep coming back to that thought process. I'm going through the typical phases of grief, right? Stages of grief where it's kind of just going back and forth, like acceptance. I'm feeling fine. And then suddenly I'm reminded of it and I feel really sad. And then I feel angry, and it's intense. But I've had a couple of like major kind of positive revelations this week, not necessarily related to my career and getting on track with that, because that's the other thing is I got back into my job and I've been sitting on my desk going, I can't fucking do this. Because part of my plan that I made while I was in Morocco was that I'm going to wake up early, get shit done, go to the gym, do an hour or so on side hustles. And then from 9 till 5:30 every day, it's focusing on my job, feeling gratitude for my job, and really just pouring myself into it because I'm lucky to have it and I need to take advantage of that. But I sat down at my desk on Monday and I'm like, nope, can't do this. And it's been really sucking the soul out of me. So 2 revelations I've had. One of them was actually yesterday after my therapy session. So I had a big, difficult conversation, I would say argument with Savita a couple of days ago, where it's been a recurring theme throughout our relationship. And it's kind of going back to the, harsh and tough love and how I said she doesn't like that. But if I have a differing opinion to her, which happens quite a lot because, we come from different backgrounds, different families, different cultures, and I present that to her, it feels like it upsets her. She doesn't like being disagreed with, right? And so I felt recently like I have to kind of mute myself because I don't want to give my opinion because I don't want to upset her. And it's not a nice feeling for me to have to sort of restrict who I am, my personality, and my opinions. And so it blew up into an argument because I said that to her the other day. And I spoke about it in therapy yesterday, and there are a couple of just huge, like mind-blowing revelations, but like they seem obvious, but um they were, yeah, crazy, like really, really cool. So the main thing was that the reason that I don't think that I give my opinions across in an intense or aggressive way. I think I just say it normally, but it upsets her because she thinks I am giving them across in an intense and aggressive way. And my therapist said to me yesterday, this stems from your childhood, from when you were sitting at the dinner table. And when I used to go to the dinner table as a kid, my parents would be talking about work. Bella would be trying to talk about her day at school. Well, then we had Cheska, who was, a baby and got all the attention, and we all had to fight for attention, right? So the only way that we could get anything across to our parents or to each other was by presenting it with intensity and by coming into the conversation from an aggressive angle, right? Because it was the only way we could be heard. And it seeped, I had that for, I guess, 19 years before I left home for the first time. And it shows up, it shows up in my everyday life now, where to get my opinion across, if I feel that I need to be heard, the only way I feel I can be heard is by coming at it from an intense angle. And so that was a really interesting revelation I had, because I was like, that's something, I've identified the root of it. And that's something that I can really change. I can really work on being less intense, because I know Savita listens to me. I know she hears me, and she's actually, a really good partner in that regard. I've always said she's like a walking green flag, right? And that's one of those things. So yeah, it's a big thing that I can, I'm really going to start working on, and really try and kind of, before I present my opinion, just take a deep breath and be really calm about presenting it, but also making her feel heard. I think that's the most important thing. Um, so that's the first thing. The second thing, and I think you're going to like this, because you always talk to me about how, you listen back to our podcast and you're like, Josh, I swear to God, I spoke it into existence like so many fucking times, right? And I
Every
love
time
it.
is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but you say, Josh, like you said this 6 months ago, and look at it's happening now. Like, both of us speak these things into existence, and I don't notice it myself, right, until you point it out. Now, over the last couple of weeks, there's been some really weird things happening. When I was away, I came up with this whole brainstorm of a personal brand. And actually, no, but just before I went away, I think after the last time we recorded, I was very motivated to do this. And I came up with kind of a personal niche that I can work on alongside our podcast, and how I can tie them both in together. And I won't get into that now. But
Send me a voice message about that because I want to hear it.
so it really excited me. And I took it to Morocco, and I was like, I was kind of excited about it. And I was like, this is what I'm going to start working on when I get back. This is going to be my 5 till 9 before my 9 till 5. So over the last couple of weeks, I think probably since we last spoke, really, but it happened a lot in Morocco. Just weird things were happening. Like, I was saying something or talking about something or someone, and it could be someone so vague, like someone completely, like a complete Z-lister celebrity who no one knows about, and suddenly they would appear on a TV advert or something. And it's not like, your phone listens to you and presents adverts to you in that way. It wasn't like that. And it's funny because I was talking to Savita about this yesterday, and neither of us could actually remember any examples, but there's been so many occasions over the last couple of weeks where we've both gone, what the fuck? Like, we were literally talking about this yesterday, and now it's appearing in our life, or it's something would appear on the street that we'd just spoken about. So it was like small weird coincidences that kept happening. And then yesterday, um, I booked tickets to the theater. I'd booked kind of not terrible seats. I'd spent a good amount of money on them because it was a West End, our Broadway production of a big show. But they were kind of like right at the back of the stalls. So they weren't, they were cheaper seats, but they were still fairly expensive. But they weren't the best. And I get a call at, I don't know, like 3 p.m. saying, "Oh, hello, this is Josh, blah blah blah. Yes, there's been a problem at the theater." And I thought it was a scam call, to be honest. But he was like, "Yeah, there's been a problem at the theater. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, but there's been an issue, and we'd like to upgrade you to the fourth row." Which these seats are probably double what I paid. I mean, I think we looked it up, and they were about double what I paid. And I was like, this shit never fucking happens to me. Like, I never get upgraded. It just, this shit does not happen. And especially not at the theater. It was a sold out show. So I don't know what the issue was. And I looked back and people were sitting in our seats. So I don't know what the issue was, but something happened that we got upgraded to unbelievable seats for this show. Which, to be that close and immersed into it was incredible. Um, and it was like a sign to me. I feel like the universe is pushing me in a certain direction. It's saying, you're speaking things, they're happening. And yesterday wasn't something that I spoke, but it was something magical that happened out of the blue, right? The universe I feel like it's giving me these signs of, Josh, there is magic in the air right now. Fucking take advantage of it. And it's really like kind of excited me. I'm like, clearly, I don't know what it is, or depends what you believe in as listeners, what you believe in as personally, but it just feels like I'm on a certain frequency right now that is shit is happening, like weird shit, magical shit is happening, and I need to take advantage of that. And I really harness that energy, and whether it's just pure coincidental, I don't know, but for me, it feels like, especially after what happened yesterday, the universe been giving me these very subtle signs. And then suddenly yesterday, it gave me this big one, like, this is in your face. The good shit is happening to you right now, Josh. Um, so yeah, that's kind of made me feel much better because this week it's been a bit of a mental battle being back in this weather and being back under the clouds and not getting into my routine like I wanted to, as always. But I need to figure out, I think I need to meditate on this and figure out, okay, what does this mean? What do I need to do? What steps do I need to take in order to really harness this magic right now? Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I am over the last week. Um, Kind of some big mental movements, I would say.
Yeah. Wow. Honestly, this magic in the air situation, it's crazy because it is true. Like, we'll be talking about something on the podcast, and when it comes out, I listen to it again. And the things that we were talking about happen to be happening, and sometimes in the same way, sometimes in like a weird, different way. Like, it's really, really interesting. And for that to be happening is very, very cool. And I think it happens all the time, and we just kind of miss it, to be honest with you. Um, and how do you harness the magic? Because the magic's always there. I think it's tapping into the frequency. And I will say, as far as the one thing, masterminding wise, and I feel like we say it until we're blue in the face all the time, but this, this like consistent pattern that I think needs to be broken is, I know what I need to do. I just need to fucking do it. It's okay. Well, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? And then do the thing, especially with like getting into the routine of like the 5 to 9 before the 9 to 5. I am really interested in this like personal brand thing. I think send me a voice message about it because, especially as we're building the podcast, like marketing, and as we're building the podcast brand, how do we create, personal brands around it that tie into the podcast the way it does, and I've been working on that for years now, and I know you're starting to work on it now too. So it's like, how do we manage that? How do we make that happen? And yeah, so you've been back for about a week now. And obviously it takes some time to ease back into life, you know. But what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna start? What are you gonna do? Maybe it helps to like work on one thing at a time, you know, like bring one
Yeah.
thing new in.
Well, this is it. I think I need to sit down, possibly today, to be honest. During the day, this evening, over the weekend, and think, okay, how can I harness this? There is magic in the air right now. So if I start working on something, that magic is going to transfer into that, whatever I'm working on, right? So if I firmly believe that, and if I'm really on that frequency where magical shit is happening, and I know you believe in that because as I said, we've spoken about so many times about the podcast and speaking things into existence. I need to take advantage of that. And so if I just start working on something, I think that's all it is. And we both believe in kind of the baby steps up the mountain, right? Just like your meditation was about a couple of weeks ago. The baby steps up the mountain, and what is that baby step that I can take this weekend, on Monday, on Tuesday, each day, doing 0.001% or zero point 0.1 or even 1%. Every day that's going to compound. And so what is that first step that I need to take? And I think once I've taken that first step, I find it much easier to get into the swing of it. And we've seen it with the podcast. Like once I take that first step to working on the social media, suddenly I get into my flow. Literally one post and I'll start posting every day. And then one roadblock happens and I shut down. And that's something that I need to counter. Um, but I feel like if there's magic in the air, there's kind of this motivation to keep going. And I'm a firm believer in manifestation. And if the universe is giving me all these signs, and as you said, I think they happen all the time, and we just don't notice it. But I think recently it's been so hard to miss it. Like there's been so much that's happening, and it feels like there's been so much that's happening that it's really like the universe going, like trying to fucking slap me around the face and go, this is fucking happening. Take advantage of it. This is where you are. Do something about it. Like it feels like I had this idea about personal branding, about the podcast a couple of weeks ago, which I will send you a voice message about. I would talk about it on here, but there's not enough time. Um, I had this idea and the universe has gone, yes, do it. And it's showing me all these signs of, right, okay, this is, there's magic happening, and it's like kind of you're in a positive place, you're on the right track, you're thinking the right things. Now do it, basically. Do it and magic will happen.
Do it and magic will happen. I mean, I think that should just be the freaking tagline. And I think it's a matter of doing the thing, you know? Do it. Do it and magic will happen, really. Like
That's
yeah.
that's actually a really good tagline, just for like a t-shirt or something. Do it and magic will happen.
Seriously,
I like that.
we have so many branding things. We can make t-shirts and hats and mugs and whatever, but do it and magic will happen. And I think, yeah, do it. Magic will happen. Like, period. Point blank, the end, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think, if we'd recorded a couple of days ago, I think it would be a very different story. I would have been much more gloomy. I haven't been feeling bad, to be fair. I've been feeling okay for the most part mentally, but yeah, I feel a bit invigorated over the last couple of days, for sure.
Yeah, completely. I totally understand. I totally agree. Like if we had this conversation like Wednesday versus now, I think it would be a very different conversation. And I think I am going to send you a voice message too, kind of diving into each one of these things because I'm still kind of processing through, and it still feels very messy mentally and emotionally for me right now, but it feels like I'm coming out of the other end of it. Like if we talked like a week ago, it would have been I was in the depths, I was in the depths of despair, but
I'm sure
I'm coming out on the other end of it, and it's feeling like I'm coming up right now. It's just like, wow. And honestly, I will say, like, this podcast itself, like, it's funny because I was so worried about getting here to the podcast, but now being able to be here and be present with you and like slow down and just enjoy the thing for what it is. It's like, there's enough time for everything. Like, no big deal, it's okay. And it's and I'm so grateful for this podcast and our friendship because it's just been especially this year, it's been such a grounding thing and a healing thing. And that's another thing is like, yeah, I haven't meditated, and the things that have been consistent are like work and recording this podcast is it's just so grounding and so healing for me, especially going through everything I've been going through. But it's wild. Anyway, do it and magic will happen.
There we go. There we go. The moral of the story.
Moral of the story. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for listening, and we'll catch you next week. We love you so much. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.